Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome for the 7th edition of the Smart Cities and Sports Summit, presented to you for the first time exclusively online. I'm very glad to be connected with you all today, despite the circumstances. I'm here in Lausanne together with the Mayor of Lausanne, Mr. Grégoire Junot, and with my colleague, Héloïse Signé. The Smart Cities and Sport Network is all about bringing people together and offering to all of you a platform to learn, share, and connect. For the last months, the world has been through a storm with this pandemic. As the coronavirus continues to bring great suffering and challenges to our world, cities and sports organizations have not been spared its negative impacts. This is why it was so important for us to maintain this summit, to have a platform to share experiences. The pandemic also pushes cities and sport organizations to reinvent themselves and to become creative in order to encourage people to continue to practice sport and to find safe solutions to host and enjoy sport events. I hope the stories you will hear during these 2 days will be inspiring for you. Since we truly believe that sport has an important role to play on many fronts in a post-COVID-19 society, we have decided to focus on the Sustainable Development Goals and how sport can be used to build a more sustainable society. So I'm delighted to open this online summit. For those who don't know me, I'm Mélanie Duparc. I'm the director of the Smart Cities and Sport Network, and I'm also the Secretary General of the World Union of Olympic Cities. And it is my great pleasure to be online with you for this online summit. This virtual platform also represents a great opportunity for our network to widen our audience and spread our messages worldwide. This year, the summit welcomes more participants than ever, with over 500 participants and over 100 cities represented. Thank you to the regular participants for your loyalty and continuous interest in our activities, and a warm welcome to all the new participants. I would also like to thank my board for their leadership in organizing the summit, and also for the decision to offer free access to all city entities. I'm glad that we could break down the barriers of accessibility, eliminating the cost and travel, while providing schedule to suit most of the differences in time with 3 sessions each day. This free online summit would not have been possible without the support of the member of the World Union of Olympic Cities, the International Olympic Committee, and the city of Lausanne, where we are based. So it's now my pleasure to give the floor to the Mayor of Lausanne and President of the World Union of Olympic Cities, Grégoire Junot.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, it is my great pleasure to welcome you as we open this exclusively online edition of the Smart Cities and Sport Summit. Over the last few months, the entire world has had to face the challenge of the pandemic, from total lockdown, various reductions of liberties, to basic health measures. We have been trying to slow and limit the spread of the virus and to protect our loved ones, our fellow citizens and our health institutions. Our private and social life has been highly impacted. One of the first measures was to cancel major cultural and sport events. Collective or individual sports practice has also been severely limited or even totally prohibited. In some countries, even a solitary jog was outlawed during the lockdown period. This very particular moment, when sport and sport events were so limited for both spectators and actors, also highlighted the importance of sport in terms of social cohesion and emancipation. It's when we don't have access to it that we often realize the importance of the things we need. In this regard, the end of large sporting and popular gathering and the collective emotions that accompany them is far from being a trivial matter. Sport remains a formidable catalyst for the forming of social bonds. Both sport and physical activity play crucial roles in the health and mental balance of individuals and constitute important resources in times of crisis. Beyond the personal impact of the suspension of sport and sport events, the pandemic has highly impacted our society, as sport is an economic activity which creates jobs, generates revenues, and contributes to the development of the dynamism of a city, helping make it attractive for tourism. The consequences of this pandemic are not only related to health, but are economic, social, political and human, and are ongoing. Today, I am very glad to be able to offer you a platform with this online edition of the Smart Cities and Sport Summit, to meet, to reconnect, and to address these challenges. I would like to thank Melanie and her team who have taken the challenge of offering you a virtual program accessible free of charge for all cities, regions and countries engaged in activating sport as a catalyst for change. This program is ambitious and aims at bringing together international organizations, international sport federations and cities and regions in order to collaborate and define how to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The United Nations recognized sport as important in enabling the achievement of the SDGs. The current situation requires strong innovative and creative reactions, as well as humility and pragmatism in order to prepare the future. I hope that you will find inspiration in this today's Smart Cities and Sport Summit program. Finally, I would like to thank our partners, the International Olympic Committee for their continuous support, JIISF for a developing and promising collaboration, as well as our national network partners who play a key role in spreading our message worldwide. I am also very grateful to all of you connected throughout the world, eager to learn, share and connect. I wish you all stimulating and creative discussion during this virtual event, and I hope you will enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and welcome to all of you to Lausanne. You are not physically present here with us in Lausanne, and this summit is not the event we are accustomed to, but I hope that this event still feels familiar. Let me quickly guide you through the platform now. Here is the lobby, where you can access the various rooms during the summit. If you are able to see us right now, it means that you have already found the conference room and the live session. From here, you will also be able to access the marketplace, where you can visit the booths of more than 20 federations. Thanks to the collaboration with GAIS, all the federations are eager to discuss with you. You can book a slime top for your meeting with IF, as the availability is very limited. From here, from the main lobby, if you go back to the main lobby, you can also access the networking room where we can meet with other participants. These rooms are accessible from the lobby and also through the main menu at the top of the page. Last but not least, our information desk is also located in the lobby. For any question you may have, please ask my colleague Claudia. A live chat is available and she will be happy to assist you. This is it for the online platform. Finally, as this pandemic period is full of unexpected situations, on Sunday we learned, unfortunately, that Caroline Anderson, the moderator for this year's event, became ill. She's at home and she's okay. She's doing okay, but she is not able to join us for the summit. We wish her a speedy recovery and hope to see her soon healthy and full of energy. This very recent news has forced us to adapt and to find creative solutions once again. And I'm glad to have the chance to be able to count on fantastic colleagues and high experienced professionals. Bill Morris has been the moderator for the summit for the last 7 years. He did not intend to facilitate this year's summit due to the travel limitation between the UK and Switzerland. Nevertheless, he has very kindly agreed to join us and will be with us for the session tonight. Philippe and I collaborated on the development of the program for this year's summit. Philippe worked for several years at the IOC, and he is now the founder of Inspired By. He is very much involved in sustainability and sport, and he will be with us this afternoon for the session. And finally, my colleague Eloise, who recently joined my team just 3 weeks ago. Eloise will go over the program in a minute, but first, I would like to thank all the speakers who have agreed to participate and share their valuable time during this very challenging period for their own cities and organizations. Some of them will be live on site here with me, others will be live but remote, and others have pre-recorded their presentation in order to guarantee their participation. All of them have generously agreed to contribute and to share the vision and experience, as they consider that cooperation and mutual inspiration is a key asset to prepare the future. This is what this summit is all about, preparing the future and building on collaboration in order to do so. I hope you will enjoy the conference as much as we enjoyed organizing them. I'll be happy to see you all of the participants whom I've not yet met at the networking lounge after the session live. With that, I'd like to give the floor to Eloise for a quick overview of the topics during these 2 days.
Thank you, Melanie. For its 7th edition, the summit will focus on the many ways in which cities can leverage sport in order to meet some of their most pressing urban, economic, environmental, and social challenges, while doing so through the lens of the UN Sustainable Development Goals framework. And be ready, because today we'll be very busy. We will focus on 6 SDGs where sport and cities can play a significant role. First, partnership for achieving the goals. More precisely, we will discuss how cities, international federations, and international organizations can work together to achieve the SDGs. Peace. We will hear many very powerful stories on how sport can be a true catalyst for peace. Sustainable cities and communities. We will address the role cities can play in the achievement of the SDGs through sport. Education. We will hear truly inspiring stories on how sports events can be a powerful platform for empowering young people. Innovation. We'll explore new avenues of innovation which respond to people's new way of doing sport. And finally, economic growth. We will debate on whether or not a new business model for sports events is being developed for the post-COVID-19 world. Our team has been working hard to secure a great panel of speakers, more than 50 throughout the 2 days of conference, all aiming to inspire you and who are all eager to meet you virtually. We hope you will enjoy this very exciting program, and I wish you all a wonderful summit.
Thank you very much, Eloise. During these 2-day conferences, we will be discussing the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 SDGs. So before diving into the program, let me first thank Grégoire Junot of Lausanne and my colleague Eloise, and let me offer you a quick reminder of the SDGs with this video. Vous avez. Now we are ready for the first session. In this session, we will be talking about the importance of partnership and how it's important to build a strong alliance in order to achieve the SDGs. In order to discuss this, I'm very glad to be with 3 of my colleagues, or at least 3 of my neighbors, since they are all based in the regions. So they will be joining me online just right now. I'm glad to see all of them. Excellent.
Allô, allô?
Yes, hello.
Allô?
Hello.
Allô, allô?
Excellent.
Oui, moi j'entends rien, je t'entends que toi.
Moi aussi.
Ah,
Moi, je
d'accord,
t'entends
ok.
que toi, j'entends rien. J'ai aussi envoyé des messages, mais...
So I will try to get in contact with you. We just start by introducing all of you. Aziade Poltier-Moutal is head of the Perception Change Project in the Office of the Director General of the United Nations in Geneva. I hope you are still online. I'm also glad to have Philippe Geisbühler, the director of GAIS, the Global Association of International Sports, and Cosima Deluermo, head of International Sports Relations for the Canton de Vaud. Are we all good for the technical aspect? Can you hear me properly?
Now, yes.
Hello.
Okay,
Good morning,
excellent.
everyone.
Thank you. First session, first test, so that's good. So I will first start with a few questions for each of you so our audience can get to know you a little bit better, and then I will just open the discussion so we can have an open dialogue. First, for you, Aziade Poltier, I have a few questions. You are the head of the Perception Project, Perception Change Project. It seems to be a very ambitious project. Could you tell us a little bit more about the project and the main objectives?
Yes, good morning. So the Perception Change Project, I hear echo, is okay?
It's perfectly fine here. And live
Okay,
as well.
okay. So the PCP aims to highlight the impact of the work done by all the UN international organizations, NGOs, and other institutions based in Geneva to understand just how relevant is the work carried out by International Geneva, not only in the context of humanitarian assistance, peacekeeping, or global health, but also in to everyday life. The Perception Change Project was launched in 2014 by the former Director General of the United Nations in Geneva, Michael Molla, and now it's spearheaded by the UN Geneva Director, the new UN Geneva Director, Director General Tatiana Valovaya. And the project is managed by a small team. We have now 115 partners from International Geneva, and our work is around four main axes, which is making information accessible, changing the narrative, promoting the work of the Geneva-based organizations, and finally to promote the Sustainable Development Goals, not only in Switzerland, but also worldwide. So basically, this is the work we're doing. It has become now a space in which we really can make many partnerships, and we're trying to communicate all the positive work that we're doing together on peace, rights, and well-being, and the SDGs.
Thank you very much. You know, I'm from the city side, if I may say so, and our Smart Cities and Sport Network brings together cities from all over the world. And sometimes, maybe from cities, UN agencies may seem a little bit far away or maybe not easy to understand. Could you explain how the United Nations is involved in sports?
Well, yeah, the United Nations has been involved in sports for decades. Now we have kind of background, but if we can put a date in where it really was accelerated, it was in 2001 when the Kofi Annan, the Secretary General of the United Nations, opened the Office of Sport for Development and Peace, UNOSDP, in Geneva. Since then, the UN General Assembly has adopted a resolution on sport as a means to promote education, health, and development and peace. And the Secretary General reports every year on the work done to the General Assembly on the implementation of the resolution at the national, regional, and international levels. Unfortunately, the office was closed in 2017, and well, I will not say unfortunately, but the thing is that when UNSWDP was created until 2017, we have managed to create a very good partnership with the federations, the sports federations, with NGOs, with international organizations, and we have been working on sports for development peace, and this has become now a kind of informal network, which is becoming much formal, and we're following up as a group all the matters related on sports and development. Now, UNESCO, for example, is the agency who has the lead for physical education and sport. UNDESA now is, which is the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, is now playing the role in supporting member states to move the agenda on sports and development forward. And now UNOC, ILO and UNESCO have set up this informal group of sport focal points from UN agencies and other relevant stakeholders to improve coordination and communication on the role of sport in implementing the SDGs. So now I think that all the guests that you have today are part of this network.
Thank you. We will go back to this network that you are creating with the International Sports Federation as well, but maybe just before one more question. The SDGs aim to build a better world and more sustainable future for all. Concretely, could you give us a few examples on how can sport help to achieve this?
I remember the first presentations that we had with when we're doing these events on building bridges between sports federations and international organizations. And I remember that at the beginning, everyone was taking the SDG that was really concerning their work. Today, we know that the SDGs are fully integrated, and we recognize that the action in one area will affect outcomes in others. And I think that we all understood now. So we have some examples on, for example, if you take goal 1 on ending poverty, for example, sports initiatives can raise and generate funds for poverty programs. If you take a goal 5, for example, which is achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls, it's evident that sport can be a powerful platform for advocacy and awareness raising for gender equality. On goal 8, for example, which is promote sustainable economic growth, sport can promote the use of public spaces where diverse populations and marginalized community members can interact and create friendly relations. On climate action, we can also work on promoting sustainable consumption. And goal 17, which is the one of partnerships. What we're doing right now is the proof of how we can work on sports together.
Thank you. Indeed, the impact of sport can be quite huge. Talking about partnership, I would like to move now to Philippe Geisbühler just for a few questions. Philippe, you represent the association which brings together all the different sports federation and sport event-related organizations, and you have a key role in sports world and represent a voice, I would say a strong voice, for all these associations. So regarding the SDGs, what commitments or initiatives has GAIFS made to contributing to the achievement of the SDGs?
Good morning, Melanie. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you very much for the invitation and to allow us to share some thoughts here with you. It's a pleasure to be here. Support our members and share knowledge, as to what you were saying before, is one of the key missions of GAIFS. It is the main activity and the main goal. So collaboration and trying to bring up these exchanges with IFs is very much important. And I thank very much also Perception for Change project, which bring also there a good impulse to drive this. What we are doing here is knowledge sharing. So we have 125 sport organizations who are active in our association. It varies from very big ones like FIFA, FIBA, very big organizations, to maybe tinier and smaller ones who are, for some, at the very creation of their international federation. So there is unfortunately not one shoe fits it all in our approach. And I think many cities also have this kind of ambiguity, depending where is your strategy and where you are in the development and in your plan, you have to adapt to the strategy because we can't do it all at once. These SDGs are fabulous, but it's an enormous task ahead. And I think that this is where collaboration comes to its full extent. When, for example, some IFs are doing best practice in one field, be it in climate change or gender equality, our objective is to share this knowledge so that the other IFs can implement this without having to reinvent the wheel. This is something that we have been doing through, for example, the sustainability.sport platform that we have been creating not long time ago, which is a platform where all the IFs, all the actors of the sport movement can share the best practice, case studies, events, knowledge, basically, that is easily accessible all around the world. And we have a very open mind here to develop this and line this up more and more with these SDGs.
Thank you. As you mentioned, one size doesn't fit all, and that's for sure. But do you think an organization like GAVS could put new standards for that, for the SDGs? Do you think it would be your role, or do you think it would be feasible?
Well, I think it's everybody's role to play a part in this. We cannot do it alone. At the end of the day, sport is a reflection of society. And sport cannot achieve this alone. Sport can contribute, sport can inspire, sport can push forward, but we cannot do it alone at the end of the day. We have seen a great partnership, for example, with the launch of our first edition of the Urban Games last year in Budapest, where with the city we had a shared vision, a shared idea, and we outlined what is important for us. And one point that was mentioned before, I think it's SDG number 5, gender equality, was on both sides something where we wanted to send a message. We can and we want to send a message, so let's do it. And in the World Urban Games, we gave not only the same number of competitors in men and women, but we also gave the same prize money, which sometimes in urban sports is not the current practice. But we tried to set a new standard, to show the example, to lead by example, and to say, look, for us, this is something that is important, and we want to show that this is possible, so please align to this and show the example on your side as well.
Talking about inspiration, as you mentioned, GAVS just launched a new platform, the sustainability.sport platform. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we have been starting, I would say, our journey with the SDGs in a more sustainability climate action approach at the beginning, but we have very quickly realized that this is just the tip of the iceberg and that we can go way further than this. So we have at the very beginning started to launch an award to try to incentivize our members. And when then COVID hit and we had less and less physical interactions, I think today is a good example of the need of having these platforms to share and exchange. So we launched this platform by thinking, okay, where can we provide one page where everything that is linked to the SDGs and sustainability in sport can be found by everyone? So we created this portal in collaboration with the IOC, which have been a big support, of course, as the leader of the Olympic movement. But we also try to bring in external entities outside from the world of sport. We are trying to engage, for example, with the World Economic Forum, to have from outside the economy comes to share the best practice with the world of sport. We need to have this translateral integration and not just be in our own bubble. And so also there, if cities are having great projects, if NGOs are having great projects, we are working with the sustainabilityreport.com, many entities who can contribute to help us in our mission to drive towards these SDGs.
maybe in a more pragmatic way, because when we are discussing about the SDGs, it's all about strategic partnership and goodwill, if I may say so. But would you have maybe one or two very concrete success stories to share with us?
Well, I think there are many success stories out there, mostly by our members. You know, at the end of the day, we are the association of many members, and we try to them to achieve big things. And they do it already on a weekly, daily basis. You can see the news, I mean, everywhere. When I think of, you will have later today, I think, the opportunity to speak to the World Taekwondo Director of Lausanne office, Mr. Marco Jena. We have been exchanging a bit on all the peace projects that they are doing with World Taekwondo. And you see that how they open to the sports community. They made a great project, but they did not keep it just for themselves. They said, all the other IFs, if you want to join us and participate in this, please come and you are welcome. And so this, I would say, is one example of a fantastic success story because it's pragmatic and it makes a difference on the ground. And it's everybody can join. It's open for everyone. So this is a fantastic initiative, and I look forward to hear more of this later today.
Thank you. Yes, indeed, we will welcome also the World Taekwondo Federation just in a few minutes for the next session. Thank you, Philippe. Now Cosima, hello, good to have you on board for this session as well. The Canton Vaud has a very particular character as the center of international sport world. Lausanne got the title also of the Olympic capital in 1994. I would like to ask you to briefly present this unique ecosystem, but maybe this year, as we have quite a lot of participants that are not familiar with our network and that may not be familiar with the Canton Vaud and the city of Lausanne, maybe I would like to show a short video just to present the region.
Let me tell you about a special place. A place where it's about Olympism, about expertise, about passion. This place is Lausanne, the Olympic capital. A place where we live sport, where we think sport, where we develop sport, where we do sport. Let me tell you what a year here looks like. It's Mark going to the office. It's the excitement of watching the best athletes. It's putting sport capabilities under the same roof. It's building the future of the IOC. It's promoting the best sports startups. It's where sports recruit the best talents. A year here is gathering the Olympic family to celebrate the Olympic Games. It's organizing the Youth Olympic Games. It's running, cycling, swimming in front of the Olympic rings. It's sports leaders meeting in the birthplace of the modern Olympics. It's the best athletes competing in iconic locations. It's the leading sports cities sharing best practices. It's sports federations reaching new heights and people reaching their goals. This is all part of life in Lausanne, the Olympic capital, where we think sport, where we develop sport, where we do sport. Lausanne, Olympic capital, home of international sport.
I hope it gives a good overview of what Lausanne and the Canton Vaud may look like when it's not a pandemic time. But maybe just a few words from you, Cosima, to explain a little bit more the specificity of Lausanne and the region related to international sports.
Yeah, with pleasure. Thank you, Melanie. Hello to everyone. I'm really pleased to be part of this discussion this morning. Yeah, effectively, I think this video resume the best what we can offer in our region, what sport and international federation and organization can bring to a region. Effectively, in 1994, as you said, Lausanne received from the Olympic, from Mr. Samaranch, from the president at that time, received the title of the Olympic capital cities. And since then, It is true that we are very proud with the state of Vaud to use it and to present it outside Switzerland. And with this help of this title, we also little by little built a specific politics with the help of the federal government, the Swiss federal government. And in 2000, we start with specific conditions to welcome international sport federation and organization. So since then, we are very proud and very glad to welcome 60 international sport federation and organization in our region. And furthermore, in the rest of Switzerland, we even have 13 more of them. So our region and Switzerland are really the place to be if you want to develop your ecosystem of sport, if you want to develop your federation.
Thank you. Actually, it's not by chance that the three of you are reunited in this panel discussion. You are all involved in one common project, which is maybe what we call the Building Bridges project, which is aiming at bringing together the international organization, the international sports federation, with the support of the Canton de Vaud and the Canton de Genève. So I would like to talk a little bit about that. Maybe, Aziadeh, starting with you, if you could explain a little bit what is the project and the main goals of this project.
I think that the best person will be Cosima for this question, as they started it. I can try. So we had two seminars, one in 2016 in Geneva and the other one in 2017 in Lausanne. And the idea was to really gather together and to see the different projects that we're doing together and how to go forward from there. Now, specifically on the UNOC site, now we are contributing to be a key facilitator and convener of the work done by UN agencies and sports federations. So we really took it up. And so we are hosting many events that are organizing by the federations, or for example, we hosted. I think that after the second one, if I remember well, after the second seminar, we had a Women's Day at the Palais des Nations, and we invited all the federations and many international UN organizations to work on to discuss on the topic. Now, for example, we also hosted the Sporting Chance Forum. Then we hosted the CJEPs in Geneva. So it's really giving some very concrete examples on follow-up. Now, in terms of the contents of the two events that we had, I don't know, Cosima, I think that...
Yeah, the thing is that maybe just to give you some background about the creation of this project of building bridges between IFs and the international organization, we start, in fact, from the state of Vaud, from Lausanne. We start in 2008. Just maybe a quick remember, at that time we were speaking about the Millennium Objectives, so it was not mandatory, but we could listen to some, discussion between international sport organization and international organization that sport could become a very important communication axe to develop synergies between these two actors. You could listen from the presentation of Aziadeh or Philippe, as you can see, the presence of so many great actors like the International Sport Federation, the international organization, in our Lémanique region, if I can say, around the Geneva Lake. It's just a very huge chance, and we are very lucky and proud to have them. So when we start in 2008, the idea was behind to say, okay, guys, we are lucky to have all these great actors. They already work together for sure, but I think we have to do more as a region with the two cantons, with the help of the Swiss mission, of the Swiss Confederation. Really thought that it was important to bring all these people together and to create a working group. So what we have done, it took some time because, as you know, it's sometimes difficult to find the right people, especially in 2008, 2009. As I said, we were under the Millennium Objectives, so it was not mandatory. But in 2015, when the General Assembly in the in New York decided that the Millennium Objective were changing into the SDGs and that it become mandatory, it gave us a really great quick to start something. So as mentioned Asiade, we had these two forums, 2016, 2017, and now today we decided to go with the help of the Swiss Confederation and the Swiss mission in Geneva. We tried today to go more into details, which means that we decided to choose only a few of these SDGs, because as Philippe mentioned before, it's a very huge task to discuss about each of them. And so we decided to go into more details on health, education, decent work and human rights, health, of course, and climate change. And we had some specific and small discussion between a few, with some partners coming from the International Sport Federation and the other one from the International Organization. We had discussion. The idea behind was really also to see if there were interest, if the international organization who already have a specific project could present them to the International Sport Federation to see if this one could be interested, could be say, okay, we follow you or we bring you new idea, because I think we can, it will be interesting to work in B2B, if I can say like this, and to share knowledges and to see how we can develop synergies. We start with a few of them because the idea, the next step will be to present it to all the International Sport Federation and to see after that if this one will be interested to enter into this the project presented by the international organization.
Thank you very much, Kazima. I'm glad to see that here in the region we're able to have strong partnership with the different stakeholders in order to benefit of all of them. Maybe because we are kind of running out of time or almost at the end of this panel discussion, maybe just one last question from the point of view of cities. During this summit, the Smart Cities and Sport Summit, we will be discussing the different SDGs and we have kind of the same roadmap and the same objectives. So my question would be, how do you consider that cities can play a role in achieving the SDGs? Maybe the question for Philippe or for anyone who would like to reply.
I can try. Well, as I mentioned a bit before, in my opinion, it's also the same as with the IFs, the cities. If you say now in a realistic way, I want to make all SDGs and fulfill them within a year, it will be a tough race. So to maybe steal the words of Mayor Junot in his opening remarks, something that applies to this current Corona situation probably also applies to the SDGs, to approach this with humility and pragmatism would be my recommendation, to identify what is the priority, where can we make a difference, look what the others do, learn from the best practices and engage in these multiple stakeholder collaborations to share your experiences, to help us or other cities improve as well and learn together with you. I think also here an important point is to say the role of the Olympic movement in itself. I think the IOC as a leader of the Olympic movement is doing a fantastic job in promoting the SDGs and liaising also with their host city partners in this. And from the World Union of Olympic Cities, I'm sure and I'm convinced that there is also a network that exchanges on these best practices and can be a real fountain of wealth and knowledge for the years to come.
Thank you very much, Philippe. Aziade, yeah?
Yes, I think that cities are playing a more and more important role now. And if we take, for example, Geneva, last year they organized the first urban sports event in Geneva, and it was really very, very successful. As Philippe said, yes, the IOC is doing a very important work on sports and cities. And well, not only the IOC, we only have the Basketball Federation. You're seeing more and more sports activities in the cities. And this is very important. Even now, for example, if you take Amsterdam is a city now where they are really looking into making all these skate parks and places where people can do sports. Now with the pandemic, we see more and more that this is so important. All the all the cycling policies, cities. I think that really they're getting more and more ways of getting involved in sports. We also had the Forum of Mayors organized in UNICE 2 months ago, 1 month ago only in Geneva, and the discussion on healthy spaces was very important, and of course this is all linked with sports as well. And I have to mention that the highlight of this forum with the European mayors was one event they did on the SDGs, and they had to score goals. So you had all the majors really doing sports, and this was the really well attended event during the forum.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure to discuss with you about the partnership and what kind of strong partnership we can build in order to achieve the SDGs. I've well noted that cities are also part of the game. So thank you very much for all of you for joining us this morning, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Philippe. Thank you, Cosima.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to encourage all of you to take a short break. So I would like you to stand up. So wherever you are, at the office, at home, or I don't know, you just put your computer, you stand up, and I would like to welcome Clarence, and she will do a little warm-up for you. Just right now, the video, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Clarence Perez-Diaz, and I'm going to be doing a workout for you to give you some energy for the summer. Please put your volume on and let's do it. We're starting, opening ourselves. We start with our right ankle, on commence avec la jambe droite. Yes. On change, we change. Are you ready? We're going to squat. On va partir avec les petites fesses derrière. We go with our little ass back. Ready, guys? C'est parti. Ha. 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 Super. Very good. Let's do some lambada. On part un peu à droite. Very good. On part de l'autre côté. We go the other side, guys. Super. What about starting to run a bit? On commence à courir un petit peu sur place. Yes. Ha. Yes. Big circle, des grands cercles. Yes. Yeah. Big one. Yes. Little one. In front. Petit. Yes. Big one. Super. Yeah. Ha. Ready, guys? We're going for biceps. C'est parti. Ha. Two. Very good. Yeah. We're going to row, guys. On va ramer. Ready? C'est parti. Let's go. Ha. 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 Yes. On va changer. We change. Arms up. 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 Ha. 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 Ready to go again. C'est parti. Yeah. I'm strong enough. Yes. You're strong enough. Yes. Show me. Yeah. Very good. Open your chest. You ready? Super. Yeah. We roll. On round. Ha. Ha. Yes. Walk away. Yes. Super. Yeah. We roll. On monte. Let's go. Ha. 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 Yes. We go. Very good. Super. Yes, you're strong enough. I'm strong enough to know. Very good, guys. Are you ready? I am. Enjoy the summit, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Clarence, for your energy. It's definitely very catching. This is full of energy and with an open mind that I'll invite you now to move to the second session of this year's summit. Peace and sport, indeed, is the second session of this year's summit. Justice and sport is the SDGs number 16, and may be considered as one of the most fundamental, since it's deeply related to human rights. The objective aims at promoting peaceful and inclusive societies and providing access to justice. In this session, I'm very glad to welcome 6 speakers in total with very powerful action to promote peace through sport, and also very touching and personal testimonies. So we will be alternating on-site speakers and also pre-recorded testimonies, as well as remote live during the session. I'm very glad to start the session now with Guido Battaglia. Guido, so you are coming from Geneva all the way to Lausanne, so thank you very much for joining me here today. You are Head of Policy Outreach for the Center for Sports and Human Rights, and you will present a little bit of the job that you are doing and explain to us why sport matters to the human rights.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Melanie, and thank you very much for the invitation and for this opportunity. I wish that everybody is doing well and is safe in these very, very difficult circumstances. First of all, I would like to set the context. So why a presentation on sport and human rights while we're talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, while we're talking about sports contribution to the SDGs and sports contribution to peace? You will hear excellent presentations afterwards on the contribution that sport can make to peace. But what I would like to highlight here is that human rights play a critical role when it comes to the achievement of the SDGs. Human rights lie at the core of the Sustainable Development Agenda. Basically, the agenda clearly states that no one should be left behind. So development can be achieved only if human rights are respected. The 2030 Agenda really relies on human rights and principles like universality, inclusiveness, equality, non-discrimination. They're all at the core of this agenda. The whole United Nations systems actually puts human rights at its core. If you look at the UN Charter, you will see that the 4 key pillars are rule of law, which is of course very important, development, peace, and human rights. And it states pretty clearly that these 4 pillars are all interconnected, and you cannot fully achieve one without achieving all of them. So what I will be doing here, I will be sharing a perspective from human rights and explain why human rights matter to sport. So next part of my presentation will be less theoric and more focused on practice. And I would like to deliver 3 key messages. First, why human rights matter to sport. Second, what is the Center for Sport and Human Rights? Why was it established? And how can the center help navigate human rights issues in sport? These are the objectives of my presentation. So we can start. We all know that sport can inspire, can unite people, and reinforce values. We are all aware of the positive contribution of sport. Like any other activity, sport may also have negative impacts. And some examples, are in the news. We're hearing about athletes and young children being abused by coaches and other people that are basically taking advantage of their position. We know that there may be human rights issues in the supply chain in the preparation of mega sporting events. We know there may be issues with migrant workers, with child labor, with forced labor. We know that police brutality may occur in the context of events. We know that athletes may be discriminated. We know that racism is a big problem, such as discrimination of women, girls, and another big issue is the lack of access to effective remedy for those who are suffering an abuse. This is a list of examples, and we know this abuse may occur in the context of events. It may occur in the context of what we call day-to-day sport, which is, elite and grassroots sport. And we have identified those who can be affected by these negative impacts. We have workers, volunteers, fans, athletes, communities, journalists, and those who peacefully demonstrate for peace and other important social issues. It is a complex context. It is challenging. And the difficult thing is also understand what are the responsibilities of the different actors involved in the world of sport. Well, there are some good news. The good news is that there is a framework based on internationally recognized human rights that can help sport organizations and other stakeholders understand what their role is, what the role they can play, and what should the others do. The other great news is that there is a sport and human rights movement that is gaining momentum. More and more organizations representing different stakeholder groups are more and more involved in this area. The last very good news is that a Center for Sport and Human Rights has been established in 2018 and is working with all the different stakeholders to work towards a world of sport that fully respects human rights. And we're seeing many, many encouraging steps that have been taken, for example, by some federations who are embedding human rights principles or policies, who are considering, and some of them have already included human rights considerations when it comes to bidding and to awarding of mega sporting events. And we know that this is a trend that is growing. The Center for Sport and Human Rights has been established to support all these entities. Who are we? This is our management. Mary Robinson, former Prime Minister of Ireland, former High Commissioner for Human Rights, currently chair of the Elders. And our CEO, Mary Harvey, former Olympian, FIFA World Cup winner, and manager in working with various international sport federations. She knows what sport is about, and she's leading us on this effort. Then we have a network. We have a big network of advisory council members that are joining and have joined the center, sport federations, sponsors, broadcasters, governments, NGOs and civil society, and also international organizations. And the last one that joined is UN Women that joined just yesterday. What do we do as a Center for Sport and Human Rights? We create a safe space for engaging and mobilize the actors that can make a difference in the world of sport. And we work together with them, and we engage all stakeholders, in particular affected groups and those who don't have a voice. And we work together through collective action to address human rights challenges. And one thing we have developed are tools to help the different actors navigate the sport and human rights landscape. We are working on tools related to the organization of mega sporting events. It is a tough time for all of us. One tool that we have developed is a tool and a guidance to help respond to the COVID-19 crisis from a human rights perspective. As I mentioned before, Melanie, dialogue is the most important thing. Our flagship annual event, the Sporting Chance Forum, takes place every year. This year, unfortunately, it will not be the case. Last year, we were in Geneva. You may recognize the Human Rights Room 20 at the Palais des Nations. And this is an essential tool and instrument to share knowledge and insights with all people involved in the world of sport. I'm aware of time, so I would like to go ahead, but the last slides basically would like to highlight some examples of the work we're doing. You know that the FIFA 2026 was awarded to a bid including United States, Mexico, and Canada. Something that may be helpful for the audience here is that we're working with cities that would like to host this event. And we're working with them to understand what are the human rights impacts when it comes to children, when it comes to the organization of such an event. What are the measures that cities can take to ensure that participation of children happens in a safe way? And what are the tools, best practice, and guidance that can be used to make this experience unforgettable, as it should be? Last slide. It's a collection of inputs we got from sport federations in the last months. They are contacting us and are asking us, okay, these issues are complex, can you help us? So we're discussing issues like freedom of expression and athlete activism, and we held a webinar at the beginning of July, bringing together sport organizations, athletes, and representatives from civil society to really understand, okay, what is freedom of expression about, and how can this be exercised responsibly in the context of sport? We've been contacted by organizations that are hosting events in areas where there may be human rights impacts, and would like to understand how can they mitigate these impacts. We've been contacted by federations that would like to further and continue the excellent work that already exists on athlete abuse and safeguarding, and how to make it more effective through stakeholder engagement and collective action. Of course, COVID-19 is a big dilemma and crisis for all of us, so what is the human rights approach to this crisis? And last, more and more sport organizations are also asking us, okay, what does it mean to embed human rights principles in the operations? And what are the consequences, and what should we do to get ready and be prepared for this? I hope that this presentation was informative. I would like to conclude now just with 3 key points. Human rights matter to sport. The Center for Sport and Human Rights is a human rights organization for the world of sport. And the Center for Sport and Human Rights can help all stakeholders navigate human rights issues in sport. Thank you very much, Melanie.
Thank you very much, Guido, for your presentation and for the overview of the activities of your organization. I'm sure that our participants have quite a lot of questions for you. I would just maybe share with you some logistical information. On the live platform, you have a Q&A session, so feel free to ask your question there. And then at the end of the different presentation, I will go back to the Q&A platform to take a few questions. Guido, you mentioned that we need to protect people within the sports world, but I would like now to give you another example, an example who showcase that sport can also protect people. Last week we recorded an interview video from Robert Baigamba. Robert is the former Minister of Youth and Sport and Culture of Rwanda. He is passionate about sport. He's a huge athlete. He was also president, vice president, and I guess also Secretary General of the National Olympic Committee of Rwanda. And I'm glad now to show the interview video that we recorded a few days ago. Thank you.
It is very true for me, and I'm happy to share my story with you. That was back in '94, in the very beginning of the genocide. I was at home and I was surprised to be on the list of people to be killed. And on the 8th of April in the morning, a group of militias came to my house because, to kill me, as I was on the list, as I said. And then one of them recognized me as a national player of volleyball, because at that time I was the captain of the national team. And then he asked me, do you have money? I said, yes. Don't you have anything that compromises you? I say, no. And then I say, I will help you. So I was really surprised that in the middle of a situation where, for me, I had already said bye to my wife, that I was saved by the fact that I was recognized as a as a player of volleyball at the time. The second time, on the same 10 days later, I was in the south of the country because I managed to flee. I wanted to flee the country to Burundi. And then again, a friend of mine had his brother-in-law as a military from the former army, who agreed to organize an armed convoy to the border. And I told him, look, can I join your convoy? And he said, if my brother-in-law comes, ask him, because he is the one who was organizing that. When he arrived, I was surprised to see that soldier was also a national referee of volleyball. And I was not only at that time the national team player, I was a member of the national team player, but also the vice president of the federation. So we hugged each other. He was happy to see me. And then, so he said, for you, anything. So bring your family and we go together. When I jumped the border, I looked at the sky and I promised God that I will always do something for sport, because he put sports on my pathway in my life. Without Parker-Hurst, that I met very fortunately because his brother was working in Rwanda, I couldn't make it. Parker-Hurst was the national team volleyball coach in Netherlands, and he was, I think, the women coach at that time. And but towards his end of career, he was almost starting his retirement. And I invited him. He came to Rwanda, and he saw how we were very busy trying to rebuild from the ashes of the genocide. And then he told me that without a new concept that I didn't know at all, the sports and peace, or peace and sport, we will never be able to really revive our sport. And then he helped us to think how to propose a project we named Volleyball and Reconciliation, and then we submitted to the Netherlands Corporation, which was consisting on first phase, develop a number of trainers or through a process of training of trainers, but those who have the eyes to train the young people. So it was really, we targeted the youth, and then for a whole year it was a theoretical, practical training, and then they went out to the field. The interesting thing we did is that we had only 2 sticks and a rope. You know, normally you have to have a very good floor, a very good environment to play volleyball, but then to popularize it, to get to everywhere where we can, we just had 2 sticks, 1 rope, and then mini volleyball. So we could train on a grass, we could train on a normal soil, where, in fact, like football, wherever football can be played, volleyball we could train. So, and really it was now those trainers had also the dimension of training of the logic of let us also speak one to another. Volleyball will reunite people who have been victims, who survived, people who were there, new Rwandans coming from abroad, because Rwanda has had there have been an interesting move of people after genocide. Rwandan who were in the diaspora of Uganda, Burundi, Tanzania, Congo came back in a massive way. So they were also. It was also a time to really have full sports activity, and particularly volleyball, to talk to each other, to know more each other, and that's how we developed that project. It was very successful, and I might say that that has been so successful that really the government were surprised and say, "Who is this guy? What's happening?" So then that's how probably after all, I started to get some more responsibility at the national level. Beginning of 2016, Rwanda hosted the CHAN. It's a kind of CAN. It's a tournament of players who just play in Africa, and we have been witnessed of something just unbelievable. We, as a host, we couldn't get to the semi-final, and then Congo played to Mali, and then of course Congo was a very good team, and then they are neighbors, even though at the time the relationship in terms of but the political relationship were not very good. But 2 things happened. The president himself came to the game, and then I remember at that time I was the president of the National Olympic Committee, and then I was seated just in the surrounding, but with Congolese delegation, and they were surprised. How come the president comes to see to watch the game, the match, and then the whole, because of the fact that they were playing very good, the whole stadium, the people, the fans supported Congo, and then they won. Then they won even the finals, and to give you a detail, the relationship was at the level where the border were closed at 8 between Rwanda and Congo. From the day they won the cup, the border were open from to midnight, and then few days later they were completely open as a normal relationship. And the national team of Congo went back to Kinshasa, and all the official speeches were also praising Rwanda, praising how at the end the people are it's a friendly country. And then, since then we noticed an improvement of the relationship with Congo, even at the political level. It's something that has no price, because we as Rwanda, we need Congo because we are a small country. Congo is a big, in terms of size, in terms of even say trade relationship, we have no reasons to be not to have a good relationship with them. So it have had a tremendous impact, and then we all said sports has an amazing impact in terms of peace, even diplomacy, if I can say so. And then it touches the hearts. We were moved like the fact that they were playing well, and then they were moved that even the Congolese coming to watch the match. We were really friends in the bars around. It was like an ambience of feast and joy. We saw something sports can do. And sometimes difficult to describe. Yeah, the program consists of organizing at district level and even at corporate level sports events, depending of the timing. We have some events that are organized on Friday afternoon, which is a time for sports. Even it is paid off but with the whole effort of reconstruction, we noticed that people start to get stroke, to become ill because of the too much stress. And then it was important to say, look, reduce, have time to do sports. And then also, again, another time to mingle, to discuss around the sports, to connect, to respect each other through sports. And then for the schools, it was more on Saturday in the morning, where it's mass sporting, walking, jogging, then doing some physical exercises. And then on Sunday, city of Kigali, then different districts have also embarked on this as we believe that why or impact is on health, particularly the non-communicable diseases. Second is the fact that it's also quality of life, because people meet, discuss. I will never forget a very old man, 92 years old, when he came for the first time to do this weekly exercise. He came with a big coat, and he was he kind of very tired, and then we could see that he was very sick. A year later, if you see him now going up the ladders of the stadium alone at 94, you say, wow, what's now? That's sports. Again, you build your confidence, you build your, and then of course the relationship where you develop there. So we believe that that is an important component of the Olympic movement in any country in the world, to create this mass sport as something we need to promote, because that has again impact on you, on your health, you feel also confident on yourself because you are in a good mood, and then of course even mentally you are ready to work hard for other activities. So it's important, and then it's part of development agenda, at even UN, that the SDGs. So we believe that it's one of the success. We can say that the National Olympic also committee has initiated and work with other institutions in the country. It's to involve sports in the economic agenda. We have talked about sports and peace and sports for health, etc. But we believe that Rwanda has every ingredient needed to develop also activities that are bringing also sports as a economic driver. I will say three things: sports and tourism. We have a high altitude. We have a good climate. It's a clean country. It's a safe country. We would like to attract more events to Rwanda. That is competitions, but then we would like to also to develop particularly the trails for hiking, biking. There are high potential for kayak, canoe kayak. So there are many things that we believe that we can do, and then. As we discuss under the Center for Global Sport, we believe that there are few countries that are using sports as a national strategy in a strategic way. It's a cluster, and then working to develop with a comprehensive development plan, strategic plan, and that's our ambition for the next level. To really see sports as a key economic driver among other drivers.
I'm very grateful for this interview because I think it shows how sport can really bring peace and sometimes even save lives. As we mentioned this morning with Philippe Gaisbler, what we are trying to do with this event is also to showcase a little bit how the different stakeholders can contribute to achieve the SDGs. And I'm glad now to have another good practice from an international federation, from the World Taekwondo and their humanitarian foundation. So I'll let you go with another video from the World Taekwondo.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting World Taekwondo at this panel, because peace has always been at the heart of our operations. So let me say that it's a big honor for us to be part of the summit. Taekwondo nowadays is a very dynamic sport, but in principle is a martial art with a deep philosophy. So the development aspect is just on our DNA. Taekwondo in Korea contributed to build a resilient national physique and a determined national attitude, bringing a devastating nation to realize an economic miracle. In 2009, our president, Dr. Cho Won-jo, created the World Taekwondo Peace Corps, dispatching coaches on mission to develop nations worldwide. Over the past 10 years, more than 2,000 volunteers have touched the lives of hundreds and thousands of young people around the world. The Taekwondo Humanitarian Foundation has been established under the Swiss law in 2016 April as an independent foundation to respond to the last global crisis of the refugees worldwide. The mission of the THF is to empower refugees and displaced persons worldwide by training them in sport and martial arts of Taekwondo. It supports them with necessary equipment, infrastructures, and related educational programs, teaching the values of Olympism and global citizenship, improving their quality of their life. Our flagship project is Azraq Refugee Camp in Jordan. This camp hosts 37,000 Syrian refugees, victims of the Syrian refugee war. No. Okay. Our flagship project is in Azraq Refugee Camp in Jordan. This camp hosts 37,000 Syrian refugees, victims of the Syrian civil war. We started this project in 2016 together with the help of our Jordanian Taekwondo Federation, the Jordanian NOC, and UNHCR. At the moment, we have around 100 students actively learning Taekwondo with training sessions offered 4 times per week. A humanitarian Taekwondo center has been constructed in this camp, and as of today, 15 children in that camp have become black belt. One of them is one of the Olympic scholarship holders training for the upcoming Tokyo Olympic Games. Another important project for us is Rwanda. THF operates in 2 refugee camps in Rwanda, Mahama and Kiziba. The collaboration with the Rwanda Taekwondo Federation started back in 2017. Currently, 200 students are practicing Taekwondo in that academy. And at present, 4 instructors are working in the project, offering 3 training sessions on a daily basis. This project is delivering also training sessions to people with different abilities, and one of them has a great chance to qualify for the next Tokyo Paralympic Games in 2021. THF is also operating in Europe. One of our first projects was Turkey. Now they have 1,000 refugees training every day. And next year we want to start new projects in Switzerland, France, and Uganda. So we believe that SDG 17 is the key to achieve great things. Therefore, our president decided to call for partnership to other Olympic and non-Olympic federations, maximizing the commitment of the sport as a tool of social development and impact of existing projects. So far, 5 Olympic international federations, wrestling, judo, table tennis, badminton and hockey, and 4 non-Olympic sports like Muay Thai, Sambo, motorboat and softball and baseball join forces with us. Next year we are planning to host a peace conference with our partner IFs, and some of them already started joining programs with THF. So in future, and now more than ever, we need also help from different sectors to bring other skills and resources into our projects. Taekwondo population now is amounting at around 80 million practitioners, and WT has 210 member nations affiliated under its umbrella. We held events in 5 regions, and we work closely with the organizing committees to ensure cost-efficient, sustainable events that leave a lasting legacy for the local Taekwondo communities, clubs, and needy peoples. Taekwondo Grand Prix Roma is a wonderful example that I would like to show you through a video.
The World Taekwondo Grand Prix of Roma was born from a joint venture between the Italian Taekwondo Federation, FITA, the Italian National Olympic Committee, CONI, World Taekwondo WT, and the Municipality Administration of Rome, Roma Capitale. This impressive event was included in the recurring events organized by the CONI, such as the Six Nations of Rugby, the Golden Gala of Athletics, or the Tennis Biennale Internazionale d'Italia. To maximize use of facilities and create a more sustainable event, the World Taekwondo Grand Prix took place in the beautiful setting of Foro Italico, immediately after the Biennale Internazionale d'Italia. This has allowed FITA to use the infrastructures already built for tennis, minimizing the economic impact on the parties involved. During the event, Foro Italico was transformed into a Taekwondo village. Besides the top athletes of the world, FITA also hosted a kids competition called Kim and Liu. Boys and girls from 6 to 11 years old had the chance to fight alongside with the greatest champions of the world. In 2019, the first edition of the World Taekwondo Grand Prix Freestyle was held in Rome for the second edition of its Grand Prix. Thanks to their performances, the greatest Taekwondo acrobats in the world left the audience speechless. Spectators also had the chance to assist to a wonderful performance of the Taekwondo Humanitarian Foundation, THF, demonstration team, came to Italy to bring a message of peace. An area of the village was dedicated to esports, where younger and older people, para and able-bodied, male and female, have been able to face a new challenge without any gender, age or physical differentiation. Moreover, also students were involved in this big event. Primary school children were invited as spectators, while high school students have used a section of the village to show the work carried out during the academic year. That's how the village became a place of promotion in terms of gender equality and different sport formats: sparring, demonstration, freestyle pumsi, and esports. In this intergenerational environment, the involvement of spectators was very high and heterogeneous. Families, friends, curious people have spent whole days inside the village, entertained by commercial activities, promotion of local products, and a kids' fun zone. The collaboration between sports organizations and Roma Capitale has been very important in terms of security, preventing terrorism, public transportation, communication, and many other aspects. The city of Rome has also been involved in the organization of side events, such as the opening ceremony was made in Piazza di Spagna, where a big screen was installed to show the GP competitions in live streaming for the promotion of the event. Closing ceremony and medal presentation were made inside the Colosseum. North and South Korea reunification demonstration team performed in front of Pope Francis at St. Peter's Square, delivering an honorary 10th Dan recognition to the Pope. All these events gave life to the Peace Tour, which has been made possible by a close cooperation between the THF, FITA, WT, and host municipalities. The aforementioned tour took place in the Italian territory from north to south, bringing Taekwondo values. The art of hitting with kicks and fists is based on integrity, moral and spiritual norms through which men can live without hostility, to the main city squares to inspire generations to contribute to peace and justice. In addition to big cities like Milan, Turin, Naples and Lecce, some of the most important stops were made in Amatrice, the small town in the Lazio region hit by a tremendous earthquake. In Matera, the new European capital of culture, and in the Monte Mario refugee camp. Starting from a sporting event, we now have arrived at the definition of a great and ambitious humanitarian project. Make FITA a branch of THF.
You will be able to discuss with Marco in a few minutes, since he will join us for the Q&A at the end of this session. Marco Iena, that you just heard in this interview, is head of the office of the World Taekwondo here in Lausanne. I think it was a great example to showcase how an international federation is able to invest in human rights, to support refugees, and also to develop partnership among the peers, among the different international sports federations, but also among its members. And I'm glad now to showcase a very specific example from the Italian Olympic Committee.
Buongiorno a tutti e grazie per questo invito al Summit. Il progetto Taekwondo Migrante nasce da un'idea di un giovane maestro, Matteo Barcellona. Si svolge nella città di Palermo, una città che si confronta quotidianamente con questa realtà, e nasce dopo un viaggio che Matteo ha avuto in Africa e ha deciso di fare un qualcosa in sostegno all'integrazione dei ragazzi migranti. Nasce nel 2018 con la collaborazione della città di Palermo e del sindaco, che ha visto in questa iniziativa una cosa molto bella, e noi come federazione abbiamo sostenuto questa sua idea e oggi è un progetto, una grande realtà. L'obiettivo è quello di far allenare insieme gli atleti italiani e i migranti in modo da integrarli nel contesto sociale della nostra città. Io penso che queste iniziative debbano essere fortemente supportate dalle organizzazioni e così la pensa anche il sindaco di Palermo. Per questo ha voluto conferire una onorificenza, una delle più importanti, la tessera preziosa del mosaico di Palermo, sia a Matteo che a 2 ragazzi emigranti. Questo per dimostrare la vicinanza della cittadinanza a questo progetto. Innanzitutto il primo ostacolo da dover superare era quello di acquisire la fiducia di questi ragazzi, perché loro vengono da una vita molto travagliata, hanno tanta sofferenza, perciò bisognava assolutamente instaurare un rapporto di fiducia. Questo lo si è riuscito a fare con il coinvolgimento di un team di psicologi, di assistenti sociali che in squadra hanno lavorato al servizio di questi ragazzi. Una volta superata questa diffidenza da parte loro si è instaurato un rapporto di collaborazione assoluto e perciò abbiamo raggiunto dei risultati veramente strabilianti. Per loro non è facile vivere in paesi diversi, in contesti sociali assolutamente diversi, però è proprio grazie allo sport che si è riusciti a raggiungere questo risultato. Naturalmente per noi questo è anche importante perché tramite questo progetto e questa grande volontà da parte di tutti di riuscire a incidere sull'aspetto sociale per tramite il taekwondo e lo sport in generale è quello di incidere soprattutto sull'aspetto culturale, dove tramite l'integrazione ci si può confrontare e trasferire le proprie esperienze da una parte all'altra. Non è semplice, però sicuramente con l'impegno di tutti si può raggiungere questo risultato. Ci sono degli aneddoti molto belli, nel senso che i ragazzi che sono a volte costretti a fare chilometri a piedi perché non hanno un mezzo di trasporto si recano in palestra per allenarsi e dopo, con la collaborazione e l'amicizia che si è instaurato tra gli italiani e gli stranieri, spesso loro vengono accompagnati a casa al ritorno tardi la sera per scongiurare i rischi dagli stessi italiani e vengono riportati a casa i ragazzi migranti. Questo in un contesto di solidarietà assoluto. Ecco perché mi piace veramente ricordare quello che è l'aspetto culturale che questo progetto trasferisce. Spero che questo progetto naturalmente non si fermi solo nella città di Palermo, ma si possa trasferire in tutte le città italiane. Per questo stiamo lavorando con altre istituzioni per poter creare tecnici, maestri come Matteo Barcellona che si possano dedicare a queste iniziative. le richieste sono tante, sicuramente ci riusciremo, e soprattutto con la collaborazione che abbiamo instaurato con la Fondazione Umanitaria del Taekwondo della Federazione Internazionale, che avrà proprio una sua sede nel nostro paese nei prossimi mesi, proprio per incentivare la creazione di questi progetti al servizio di tutti. Mi dispiace non essere stato presente lì di persona al summit per via del Covid-19, però è una situazione che noi tutti conosciamo e non ci permette oggi di stare vicini, ma l'abbiamo fatto in modalità remoto, e questo sicuramente è ciò che porta a raggiungere l'obiettivo, quello di trasferire questa esperienza a tutti quanti. Grazie, e spero in futuro di poterci incontrare di persona.
As you certainly noticed, it was not the president of the National Olympic of Italy, I'm sorry, my bad. It was the president of the Italian Taekwondo Federation, Angelo Cito. I think that we heard quite a lot of very interesting programs dedicated to the refugees. And we thought when we were preparing the program that it was also important to hear a voice from one of the refugees. So we decided to collaborate with the IOC, and we have a great interview from Pure Bill, member of the Refugee Olympic team in Rio 2016, and also board member of the Olympic Refuge Foundation, as well as UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador, who accepted to give an interview last week to the IOC. Here is the interview.
Yeah, actually, I left South Sudan. It was 2005. And the reason is whereby one day we were attacked by the government troops from Sudan. And luckily, we managed to escape with my mother and my sibling brother and sisters. We spent 3 days in the bush whereby we were eating fruits and leaves. Some of them that were poisonous for us. After 3 days, we went back to the village and we find everything was abandoned by the government. And so my mother, she decided to go to Ethiopia because we are near to Ethiopia. Because the situation in the bush was so bad for my sibling brother and sister. So she decided to go back to Ethiopia. And then when we go back with my neighbors, we find everything was burned down by the government troop, and they take everything that was belonged to us. So luckily, I was rescued by United Nations workers, whereby I was brought from South Sudan to Kakuma. I started running in 2015. For the entire of my life, I've been playing football since I was 10 years old. So in 2015, I was about to finish my high school. So one day it happened whereby people that were talking about there will be a running happening in Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya, which was organized by UNHCR and Tegla Lorupe Peace Foundation. So I thought to myself, I can try because, in football, people, they work as a teamwork. Like once you lose the game, you cannot blame yourself. So in the morning I wake up and then I join other people who are running the same race. I participate in 10K. So I managed to become third position in 10K. So that is why I began to become an athlete and say, okay, if I can manage to run 10K and beat other people, why should I not trust myself, like running? Because, in running, it needs your determination, your hard working, and everything that we are doing, we must trust in God. So that is why I say, okay, I can believe in myself. I can do whatever from football because it is a teamwork and you cannot blame yourself when you lose the game. So I take the path of running in 2015 when I finished my high school. Yeah, from there, after Kakuma trial, I was brought to Nairobi in Kenya, in Tegla Lorupe Center for the training. So we have been training for the Olympics because we were told now you have a chance to compete in the Olympics, because I never had this Olympic, but they told us if you work hard, you can manage to go to Olympic in Brazil 2016. So yeah, I have been training for that 6 months. And then from there, finally, my name was in the selected list from the International Olympic Committee. And I was so happy because I did not expect that it happened in my life to become someone that can represent a refugee in internationally in competition.
And what is your best memory of Rio 2016?
Well, I think there was a lot of best memory to be in Olympics 2016. But the first one that I can remember very well, it is when we were entering Maracana Stadium as a team, because we were the second last team to enter Maracana Stadium. You know, in my life, I've been crying because of different reasons. Because of sadness, you lose someone, because the situation that you are facing where you come from. But that time I was happy because this is the moment whereby now you forgot the past. People, they're sharing up, like the UNHCR Commissioner, the United Nations Secretary General, the IOC President is standing up for the Refugee Olympics team to be cheer up, you know. This is a moment whereby coming from such moment to have a happy moment whereby you have a team whereby this is a team that is have different people. And other people, millions of people, they share up because of the Refugee Olympics team. I was crying. That is my second time to cry. And that was my best moment, to see other people can share for the Refugee Olympics team. Well, after I finished my high school in 2015, I thought that was the end of everything for me. Because, you know, being in Kakuma, being a refugee camp, it was hard, the situation, both education and both life in general. So when I finished, I say, okay, the only option is to go back to my country and maybe find my family, one of my family, or anyone that I can get from my family. But it did not happen the way I planned it, to finish my high school and go back to South Sudan, because another war happened in South Sudan, and from there, things get worse. So being in Nairobi for the Tegla Dorupe Peace Foundation, it was another opportunity for me. It was a motivation, another way of saying there is another opportunity that you can do apart from being in a refugee camp. So I got to be involved in advocacy for the refugees, being in Nairobi. Also, I continue with my education and open another way to continue with my education and give the voice for the million of refugees around the world through sport. Sport is one way to change the world, according to me. Because I remember, you know, in Kakuma, we have 19 different nationalities who are living in Kakuma refugee camps. And the only way that you can unite those people is through sport. People that have been playing together, sharing common idea, objective, to do something that can change their life, that can help them to forget what they passed through in their life, traumatized way which they have been passing through, maybe of losing someone. So refugee people, they use sport to change their life and to involve themselves in sport. It's a way of uniting different nationality, giving them hope to say, okay, this is the way that we can unite ourselves and make ourselves better. And the young people who are coming up, they know that this is the only way that can change their life, because this is a talent and something that they can be proud of, because one day, one time, they can make their life through sport. Actually, it is an honor to be part of the Olympic Refuge Foundation because first of all, it gives me opportunity to be the voice for the million of refugees through sport. Second to that is whereby, that is a hard work to represent million of refugees, but it needs dedication whereby you can say, this is a call for all of us to say we can save the humanity. So for me, being the board members, being a refugees, it gave me it is called platform to be the voice for the million of refugees and use my talent to say, okay, we can give a hope for million of refugees who are living in camp. We can change the perspective of life whereby they can know sport can change their life. So being a board member, it gave me a lot of opportunity, as well as I continue with my education. It opened a lot of doors for me to be a refugee ambassador for them.
This testimony is absolutely unbelievable, and I think it's a real call for all of us to use sport in order to maintain peace. Now, I hope that you had an interesting overview of the different projects and realities on how sport can contribute to peace. And I'm glad now to maybe open the panel discussion and the Q&A. So the different speakers should be now online with us. So Robert Baigamba should be there, as well as Marco Iena. I can see already Jojo Ferris, who is the head of the Olympic Refuge Foundation. Hello. Hello, Robert. Good to see you. And Marco, great. All of you are here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your participation. Maybe starting with you, Jojo, since we haven't yet heard from you. What are the different ways in which sport can contribute to the lives of refugees and forcibly displaced young people beyond the example of Pure with an elite athlete?
Yeah, good morning and good afternoon wherever people might be. It's terrific to be here and always wonderful to hear Paul's story and have him as a ambassador and board member of the foundation, as he said. I think what was so great was hearing even Paul as an Olympian, even he's sharing the role of sport in uniting the community in Kakuma, where there's 19 different nationalities, for example. I mean, for a few, such as in Paul's case, sport is that competitive pathway. It offers opportunities. But for the majority, sport is that opportunity to connect with others, with people, a place to feel safe. It is also an opportunity to improve physical and mental health, learn new skills. And we heard a lot from Robert and other speakers about the different contributions sport can make. I think what's interesting to think about is sport can be that delivery tool, but it can be an advocate, a partner, a storyteller, or a combination of all these things. And through the Olympic Refuge Foundation, we work with partners all over the world using sport to improve the well-being of forcibly displaced young people and their host communities. And if we can ensure refugees have access to safe sport, this can provide a place to belong and in turn a place for them to thrive. And one thing that's often overlooked about sport is that most sport structures, teams or organisations or clubs are locally driven. So understand the local context, have people involved who are invested in their communities and offers a longer term sustainable delivery partner. And refugees and forcibly displaced young people can and do contribute enormously to these volunteer-led organisations.
And to come back to what you just said, what in your view are the most important elements when designing programs for displaced young people?
Oh, there's obviously a lot, and for anyone who's interested, because I'm conscious of time, the Sport for Protection Toolkit is open source and available through the Olympic Refuge Foundation website. So please look there for further information. Perhaps I'll just pick three things that I think are often overlooked. I think one is to develop with and or be guided by forcibly displaced young people for whom you work or work with. The second is knowing what needs to shift or change to improve the situation. and retaining that sharp focus on this. And lastly, and I was pleased to hear from Marco and others about working in partnership, because recognising all the partners' interests and working to each of their strengths so that collectively you can leverage and have the deepest and long-lasting impact that you want to have should be integral to the program design.
Thank you. Maybe the last question before just to open the discussion, but very often we picture ourselves young refugees in refugees camp. Here with the Smart Cities and Sport Network, we are really talking about cities. So my question would be, how can young people be involved and even contribute to smarter cities?
Yeah, great question. I think first there's a widely held misconception that refugees live predominantly in camps. In fact, 2.6 million of the 25 million refugees globally are living in camps. 60% live in urban areas. And for this reason, we're working quite a lot in cities and urban areas. Mexico City, Amman, in Jordan, there's only 80% of refugees in camps. Same in Turkey, 98% of refugees do not live in camps. So we're in Ankara and other main cities in Turkey. We're also working with high-income countries, primarily in European cities next year, because we're convinced that sport offers that unique way to foster inclusion and cohesion in society. If a smarter city is one in which individuals are able to contribute and positive mental and physical health is valued, as well as a strong sense of community, then it's essential that for refugees to be able to contribute both economically, culturally, in all sorts of ways, that will make the city smarter. And if there's barriers to these young people accessing safe sport, then there's barriers to the whole of society benefiting. When I was preparing for this, I remembered the quote from Margaret Mead, and I'll just share it with you and then finish up there. But she said, "The young, free to act on their initiative, can lead their elders in the direction of the unknown. The children, the young, must ask the questions that we would never think to ask. But enough trust must be re-established so that the elders will be permitted to work with them on the answers."
Thank you. Thank you very much. We received quite a few questions on our Q&A chat. I would like to go back to you, Robert, with a question. Your entire life showed the importance of sport. You also had responsibilities on a political level. And sometimes in cities we see that sport is just a kind of entertainment and not really used as a tool in order to develop cities. So in your view, what should we do in order to fully maximize the impact of sport in cities?
In my experience, I saw something spectacular done in Indianapolis, in the United States, where they used two principles when they organize it is also to develop what you call legacy projects. So whatever you do an event, you do, or you eventually decide to build a health center, or you plant trees. So you do something that stays forever, or at least for a long time in the city. So I believe that that's something we need to learn from, practice, and that's something I hope that going as principles where when we organize events internationally, even at national level, to always think of what is beyond sports. What can those young people, those and of course sponsors, cities, leadership can all together to do projects that can also enhance and increase the development of the cities and the country in general.
Thank you. So sorry for the connection. That's always a little bit difficult with the virtual events. But what you mentioned is really important, the legacy. And that's very important in our network with the Olympic cities, but in general with sport and sport events. And tomorrow we will also have a session dedicated to legacy, to go deeper in this topic. Maybe a question for you, Marco, now. We were very glad to see the different programs that you are implementing through the foundation and with the Italian Taekwondo Federation. How can you imagine that you can develop this kind of partnership? I mean, what is the possibility for you to influence your other members to implement this kind of project as well?
So I think that our president has really at his heart the humanitarian activities and the development area that surrounds our sport. So he has been sensitizing our members and national federations that are following our activities. So in the case of the Grand Prix of Roma, it was wonderful to see how the side events really become the main events at the end. So we had our demonstration team going to all the big squares of all the main cities, bringing the message of peace. And we have all the squares full of people, young and older people. So it was really wonderful to see how those sharing of culture and sharing of values become really the art of our championships. So I think even in the future where the countries and the authorities that are participating into the hosting an event will be very important to have an active communication with them and discover what are the needs of the country involved and the city involved in the bidding, to see how an international federation and the local authorities can cooperate together in order to deliver the legacy of the event, to bring together young communities, needy people, and apport really an active contribution to the Agenda 2030 of the UN.
Thank you. It's really interesting to see that from your side, sport event is really a catalyst in order to make change happen. As Robert mentioned, the legacy is then a key point. Maybe coming back to you, Guido, here in Lausanne with a question that we received on our Q&A chat. When you talk about human rights, the question of independence and integrity is a key asset. So we received a question related to the financial support that you have and the way you are funding as an organization.
It's a very good question, Melanie. Happy to respond. So we're exclusively funded by the members of the Advisory Council, and I've shown in the slide who the members are, and we're of course very grateful for their support. So we're relying on a range of different sources, and one thing that is important also to highlight is that we basically get funding from governments, local organizing committees, foundations, companies, and sport organizations. And what is very important for us is to make sure that each segment does not contribute too much, and there is a good balance between the different contributions that we're getting. Wanted also to highlight that we're not fee for service, so basically we're not working on a consultancy basis, and all the donations that we get from sport organizations and companies go into core funding and are not dedicated to specific projects. All this information is available online, sporthumanrights.org, and of course, happy to answer any further question on this topic.
We will, of course, thank you very much, Guido. We will, of course, put all the different links and references on our website as well. And you are very welcome to join all of you then the networking lounge to discuss with the participants to continue the discussion. It's almost the end of this session panel, but maybe just one additional question kind of to all of you, or then you can choose. I think that most of you know each other from a project or another, and I would like to go back to the importance of the partnership and how you can improve the different partnership that you have already between the different stakeholders in order to improve your action then in the field. So, open question. Jojo, maybe I guess.
I'm happy to take that one. I mean, we our principle of working is in partnership. So we're a very small team at the foundation, but working with partners in various levels, I guess, is the key, is figuring out what value proposition, what's the shared value in a partner that you identify is working in a similar area, and how do they add strength, and how do you add strengths and play to those strengths. I think in the case of our very long-standing strategic partner in UNHCR, we work very closely with them at different levels depending on where we are in the globe, and very much so on the advocacy piece. When you have partners like THF and other federations, in our program in Uganda, for example, we engage with the national federations to deliver specifically the sport components there. And we have the think tank, the Olympic Refuge Foundation think tank, that brings together more than 25 experts in their areas, the community of practice where all our implementing partners can exchange ideas together so that we lift that standard. And I think recognising that you can be a catalyst, and this is how we see our role as well, but really not get too worried about who's taking the credit. And that's easier said than done when you have organisations. You need to seek funding, you need to demonstrate what you're working on. But I think we're moving into this space now, and we have plenty of examples where organisations can come together, all achieve their particular objectives, acknowledge that we might have different objectives, but find that shared value and shared purpose, and how you can work together to make your achievements stronger as well as everyone else's.
Great answer. Thank you very much. Thank you. Guido, I think that you wanted to add something as well?
No, thank you, Melanie. Indeed, partnerships are essential. I mentioned beforehand that the issues we're facing are complex and can only be addressed and fixed through collective action, stakeholder engagement, and one point that Jojo also mentioned beforehand, having a people-centered approach. Listen to those who are affected, understand where the problems are, and work together trying to fix them.
Excellent. Thank you, and thank you very much to all of you. We are almost at the end of the session. It has been a pleasure to be in contact with all of you to prepare this session. We will again put all the different documents and references to share with the participants. Thank you very much and have a good day.